We've noticed a change in this, haven't we?
What's important, I think, for us to really look at is consumer behavior.
That's how we react as humans. We want it fast, we want it now.
And if you're still using the same marketing tactics, the same messaging, the same approach to that consumer from 10 years ago, you're missing out.
The consumer out there is thinking, there might be a better alternative.
We've found the institutions, we've brought them together in one place. And all of a sudden, you're instantly going in with 6, 7 offers, telling the person who wants to sell their house that I have 6, 7 offers right now. We're back again with the Real Estate Consumer Shift. I'm Jason Wells here with my partner and good friend, Tim Evans. And we got a doozy today. I hope people are hungry when they're listening, because if you're not, you're going to be hungry listening to this one.
What are we talking about today? We're going to talk about crab legs.
Crab legs.
Well, like what in the world does crab legs have to do with real estate?
Well, frankly, for myself, I think crab legs should have everything. I mean, if I could have crab legs at every listing appointment, that'd be okay by me.
Yeah, this is a story. This is not a story, but this is a thing that happened to me the other night, and I think it's very relatable, and not just to real estate, but to any business or any decision that the consumer is processing, and that's what this is all about: is how consumers make decisions and what they're thinking, and then how do you position yourself within how they're thinking, right?
Correct.
To get the best results.
In today's world of sales, which in real estate, you're in sales, and most everything you're selling in some sort, there used to be the idea of you do the ABC, right? Always be closing. Well, guess what? The 80s and 90s called and they want that tactic back. The reason that worked is because if you called, you had a specific purpose. That was your Google. That was your intent-based marketing piece. Was I was calling to find out about something, or I walked into the store for something, so it'd always be closing. Well, now the internet comes out and people start having more access to information. Now it becomes more like you got to consult them through it. Well, the consumer has changed yet again. And the consumer, especially as we've noted, the consumer changed a lot thanks to the pandemic. It accelerated this adoption of other technologies and other ways of doing business that would have otherwise taken a few years. It accelerated it. And with that acceleration and with that change, Tim, what we see is that in sales, us as real estate professionals, we must adapt to that change, because they don't want the same thing. They don't want your 21-point marketing plan. They don't know what else to ask. They Googled something and said, what should I ask this real estate agent? And they're like, ask them about their marketing plan. That's the only reason they're asking about it. But what do they really want? Yeah,
they want convenience. They want certainty. They want speed. They want it to be easy.
Right.
I think everybody wants that, right? We've said that in previous shows, and it's all about the convenience and certainty and getting what they want. It's what's in it for them.
So there's a certain amount of, I want to see it, I want to know it, I want to process it then and make a decision that they want to have. And you were sharing with me why we talked about crab legs, this experience you had when you went out to one of your favorite dining spots recently. And tell the folks about your
new
dining
restaurant. Yeah, brand new restaurant. Great. Yes. And so wife and I have been watching the restaurant. Opened up a few weeks ago. It's down the street from us, High Tide. It's in Chandler.
Shout out.
Yep. Shout out. This great restaurant. Great seafood, by the way. And, lines have been long. You know how new restaurants, it's the new thing on the block, so everybody's attracted. So we happened to catch an off night, drove by it, there wasn't a line. It's like, oh, this is our opportunity. Walk in the restaurant, very nice setting, and it's like very elegant. Done very nice, and very impressed. Sit down here, have a drink. The menu comes, and we're looking over the menu, and I see crab legs. I'm like, ooh, that's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna have, And then all of a sudden, your eyes go right over to the right, right?
To the right.
See, and what are we looking for?
I'm looking for how much those crab legs are going to cost.
And what do I see? I see market value.
Uh-oh.
And what was interesting was, I paused. And I was like, oh, and then because I didn't know the price, I started looking at some other items. And that's what we do when we're looking at the menu, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're sort of seeing other options and things as we're trying to,
you're shopping
for the food, right? Shopping to see what else is available. I think we've all have opened a menu and looked at market price.
Oh, entirely. You go someplace, and I prefer it when it's up in the front so I don't have to ask about it.
So the rest of the story, what happens is I didn't order the crab legs because I didn't know.
But you love crab legs,
and I ordered the steak and shrimp. And it was a $55, and it was a great steak, great shrimp. But when I left the restaurant, I was upset. And the next day I was even more upset.
That was when you came and told me, like, gosh, dang it.
I said, Jason, it's like, this happened to me. It's like, and I didn't get the crowd. It's like, and it wasn't about the money. You know, it's just nothing to do about that. It was the uncertainty. It was the not knowing. Or it was also, I felt intimidated to ask, you know, what is the price? And it didn't really matter. I should have just ordered it.
You weren't intimidated because you couldn't pay for it.
Right.
It had nothing. It had, at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with price, frankly.
It was the uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And if there was a little bit of confusion, if you've ever been in this scenario and you bypass that market price menu item. And that's what happened to me. And I will share I think, and let's tie this into real estate a little bit. Doesn't that happen with us as real estate agents?
How many real estate agents out there have their fee for services posted on your website, Facebook, anywhere? None. Zero.
Right.
I don't have it.
Yeah. Right. How much is the seller, and another, how much is the house going to sell for? Mm-hmm. Or what is your price? And the uncertainty piece of it.
Completely. And so why is it though that uncertainty became my thing? Like I really wanted to understand like what the psychology is. So I looked up some stuff here, you know, Dr. Google. And some of the reasons that happens, why we do that, because I know I myself, when I go to a restaurant, that's the same sort of thing. I'm bashful to ask for it. It's not about whether or not I can pay for it, but one of the reasons they don't do that, I get it from a restaurant standpoint. So let's clarify that. We get it from the restaurant standpoint, why they do that. You're going somewhere at that restaurant. It was high end. It's elegant. It's nice. It's the experience. The assumption is that if I'm there, I can afford the experience and I'm paying for the experience, not the cost of the food. Okay, I get all that from the restaurateur's side of things. But from the consumer, when you go in there, there is this holdback because of social norms and etiquettes. The social norms and etiquette within a restaurant is that I want this. This is how much it's going to cost. I can now make a decision. I can evaluate. Do I want to pay that? Is that what I really want? Or do I want the shrimp and steak today, right? Fear of embarrassment is sometimes, okay, that's a little bit more than I wanted, but now they know I was interested and I'm not going to order it, right? That I know that sometimes is me. Like maybe I don't want to pay that much for it or something, so I'm embarrassed to ask. Conformity to peer pressure. If I ask, then I'm going to have to get it. You ever heard like not the crab legs, but they tell you some special and like, oh, that sounds really good. But then you're like, oh, if I ask more about it, then I'm going to have to buy it.
Yes.
Right?
And the waitress, in that situation, I didn't know her. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to feel embarrassed or ask or say something that, you know, I shouldn't. And my decision just went to where I knew the certainty, the price. Those are all great points, by the way. But let's peel this on, you know, put this, I like to paint a picture.
Yeah.
As you're sitting at the table with a seller, right? And you're going through some of these things, some pricing or some fees, and they have questions, or sometimes those questions don't even come out, right?
Mm-hmm. Because they have these same reasons why they don't want to ask.
Just for the same reasons. And what happens? You walk out and you say, oh, that went really well. I'm going to get this. Tomorrow they're going to call me. I'm looking for that email. I'm going to get that text message. Mm-hmm. And what happens? It doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. And then you see it listed with someone else.
Yeah. Or they went a different direction. It happens often. Mm-hmm. And that's why we want to point these certain things out. And I think it's totally overlooked.
What's the most important price a home seller is looking for? Your commission price? What's the number one price they want to know? Their house.
Their house. And they
have a number in mind.
They do.
This was another thing we if we really think about it, at night, the couple's sitting there, things are winding down, they're maybe having a glass of wine or a soda or whatever, and they're talking about, well, if we could do this, like your house. You've told me before, you've got a great home here in Chandler, and you're not looking to sell. Mm-hmm. But if someone gave you the right number, would you?
All day long. And I've said it to you open, as like somebody were to give me $825,000 for my home. That's a price I would have in mind, and I think it's a pretty fair value for my property. And if somebody would say, I'll give that to you. No questions asked. You pick what you want and be done.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was in the market, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Without making any other calls, without going out and talking to anybody else.
So does that price at $825, because this can be the cynical thought, is the house really worth like $300? So of course I'd take $825.
No, the home was valued anywhere between that $850 mark, I think.
And what is value?
Yeah, that's value that a buyer will pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's the price that somebody would pay, but I could be off, right?
Or not. So let's unpack that a little bit. When we talk about value, value is what a willing buyer and a willing seller will accept under same or similar circumstances. That's it. It's just what a buyer or seller are willing to do. That is the definition of value. Yet when the consumer comes and asks us like to place a value on it, that's a different value. You realize that? That's a different value than the value that I have on my house. The market value isn't the same thing that a willing buyer or seller would necessarily trade for. The market value is also largely dictated about a safe investment for a lending institution that they can get their money safely protected by lending at that amount. I know that agents out there like myself, like you, we've talked about, sold many a home well over the list price or over the market price. There's two homes in particular that come right to my mind. One of them we sold for $500,000 over the next closest even ballpark it should have been in. But we sold it for that additional amount because that was what the seller was willing to sell for, and the buyer wanted what they wanted.
And it wasn't 100 agents came in and said, no, this is what your home's going to sell for, right? And they try to pinpoint that. And it was totally different, right?
Completely.
And
in fact, that seller, Tim, to that point, that seller didn't have a whole bunch of people. He had, it was one of the agents on my team, door knocked him in a luxury neighborhood. I thought that was pretty brave of him. So door knocking,
yeah,
odd. It works.
Sometimes it works.
So he goes and he door knocks on him, and he's talking with the guy, and the guy tells him, I would take effectively like $825 for the house. Yeah. This is what I'd sell it for. So the agent comes back to me and we're talking about, okay, well, if that's the offer he'll take, why not? Let's see if we can get it. What's the big deal? And so we did. We ran at it. Long story short, we just sold it.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the menu, the $825. So if that number was on the crab legs, right? If it was a price and I knew it was $825 or whatever the acceptable, it was done.
Because you would have certainty.
Ordered.
Yes.
Done. There's a bowl of crab legs on the table and I'm digging in and making a mess.
Indeed, right?
They're the best.
You're going home happy. You're not having that cognitive dissonance of why did I order that amazing steak and that really flavorful shrimp?
Yes.
Right? Because that's what it was. You had a great meal, but you were still like, dang, I should have got the crab
And
legs.
the interesting thing, and it's been several weeks, I haven't been back and I need to go back, but it's just because I'm still messed up in my head.
They're going to see me come back in and they're going to be like,
this guy's a middle case.
But the consumer, we all are that way. That's another thing to recognize. When trying to understand the consumer's behavior is we are the consumer. So just look internally as to what would be most effective for you. How would you feel? Not based on your bias of what we know people need, but what they want. And so isn't there a car dealership in town that's doing something like this you've told me about?
Yes. We have a Sanderson Ford.
Another shout out.
Yeah.
We're going to start charging for these endorsements.
A great, been around the Phoenix area for over 50 years. Wonderful dealership, family business. They do a wonderful job. And it was interesting. We've heard their, been exposed to their ads, have listened to their ads for years and years and years, TV commercials, radio ads, and coming back from up northern Arizona's listening to the radio, and the ad comes on the sports station, and it said, totally different ad. It said, go to this website, order your vehicle, put in your selection, put in your make, model, color, type of vehicle. We'll ship it right to your door. Bypass the salespeople, bypass the fees, and we'll deliver it right to your door. Just
make all your dreams come true. Yeah. Tell us what you want. We'll give you the convenience, the certainty, the choice, everything.
And I really, on the way down from northern down the mountain, I really processed that, and I thought it was quite interesting. And they are the seller in that commercial.
Yeah, they're effectively selling you whatever car you want.
And the buyer, but they're giving the option to the buyer, like
But name your thing.
Name
Name your price. Name your features.
Put it down and order it, and we'll deliver. And I think that's how, like, back into the real estate world of things is like when we sit and talk, or when we process rather, talk to our spouse, like we're going to buy this home. We're 4-bedroom, 3-bath, want that big backyard with the gazebo, need the side yard with the RV gate, right?
Correct.
And you're making these selections. That's how you
HOA,
buy them.
no HOA, all that.
We got it. Yeah, you're buying the home that way, right?
And so the buyer does that process that you were talking about for the dealership, but it was totally different because now it was the seller saying, I'll sell this to you. Tell me what it is you want, and I'll accept your offer, or we can work one out, right? And the point of it isn't always to just say, give me the price I want. It's to create conversation.
Yes.
The more conversations we have, the more business we do.
I think flipping that around to where a seller tells you,
correct,
and match what I want, and here's what I have, get what I want. I think from a price standpoint, and you deliver the offer, that's where that's where we're going. And we're going to talk about that next.
We certainly will. Because
our next show.
Right before we wrap up, though, isn't that the getting the home value? Isn't that kind of it's almost there? The husband and wife are sitting there talking, or the spouses or whoever is talking about selling their house, and like, well, what could we get for it? I would accept this much, but what could we get for it? They're going to go look for it, and that's where the home value comes in. But the home value doesn't deliver what they're actually looking for. What if it said, "Tell me how much you want"? What if I can get you the offer you want? What would you take?
Tell us. And that, friends, are what we're going to talk about on the next show. So you have to come back next week to get this breakdown, because it's very, very intriguing and interesting. And this is a secret that we can unlock for you guys. And this is for any business.
The concept works for any business.
It does. But this is the real estate shift, and it has shifted. And this is where it's going. And this is how business is going to be transacted. So come back next week, Jason, right here on the Real Estate Shift. It's Real Estate Consumer Shift, right? Mess that up. Real Estate Consumer Shift. Got to get that right. And we're excited to share all of this with you.
Indeed. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.